what's more American than Superman and apple pie? Well, apple pie has a historic American tone, although it's not really American. And neither is Superman. He's an alien. And he wasn't always an American icon, I guess. Well, always an icon in America. Not always like the American. Well, the saying, the truth, justice, and the American way. That's was not a big deal. They did not do that when he first started. He was not. I mean, a lot of conservatives point to Superman. I know George Senda, for one, points to Superman as this American ideal, American perfect, or whatever. I don't know what the right word there is, but something, that he's America, and he's not. He started off as very much a socialist. I guess he's supposed to be the conservative American ideal. I guess you might say that could be it. But he started off as a socialist. He wasn't. He was out to save the little guy from the terrible corporations and stuff. That's because in the late 30s that was a problem. And he wanted to go after. He killed slumlords. He killed them, literally killed them. Threw him out of. He took a slumlord to the top of the slumlord's building and tossed him off it. It was one of the earliest Superman stories. But in 1942, we were at war, and America got a real patriotic push, as we do at times like that. And they added Truth, Justice, and the American Way in the radio show. He fights a never-ending battle. Or I think that's from the TV show, The Never-Ending Battle. But that's where they first mentioned the American Way. Pretty much after the war, that was dropped. And the American Way and all that stuff was no longer in Superman's taglines. So when you see was it Return of the Man of Steel, where Perry White says, is he still around? Does he still fight for truth, justice, and all that stuff? Well, that was really more what it was. He fought for truth, justice, and tolerance. That's what his father taught him in the early Superman stories. He said, get out there and use your powers to fight for truth, justice, and tolerance, which may or may not be the American way, depending on how you look at it. I don't know. I'm not going to make calls like that. I'm really presenting a story here. Superman, this one here, Superman comes over to visit Wonder Woman. She just got her own place, and he's bringing a warm apple pie. An apple pie that his mom made. It's sweet. The next time we see Superman, there's more references. There's plenty of Superman and apple pie references. Just because it still fits. I mean, even though, like recently, Superman denounced his American citizenship. And he wanted to be a citizen of no country. He belongs to the world. And he went to Congress and said, I denounce my citizenship. Right there. And that was a big deal when that happened. It wasn't. I didn't think it was a big deal. It was a big deal to a few people. That he's supposed to be American. And it's like, no, I think if you come from another planet and you look at all people as the same thing and all equal, you're a citizen of the world. But, besides that. Anyways, let's look at this. We've got them all sitting down for a meal. And talk like normal people. You got Superman, his son John, he's married to Lois, and their dog Krypto. And John and Superman, he's Superboy. He's off now in the future with the Legion, but he's friends with Damian Wayne, which is Robin, who is Batman's son with Talia al Ghul. And Robin's just a pissy little, he's great. He's just always pissed. He's like 10 years old. He can kick anyone's ass. He's always mad because he was raised by assassins to kill. And Batman's always grumpy. And there's grumpy Batman, and he has his full slice of pie in front of him. And Superboy's whispering to Robin, doesn't your dad like apple? Robin says, Batman doesn't eat pie. So, anyway, Superman and apple pie, let's have a taste. And move on from there. Alrighty. Yeah, I got this guy at the bakery at Safeway, $2.99. I don't know if that's a good deal or not. That's what it is. Looks pretty tasty though. Apple pie. This is Dutch apple pie, they said. See or not? Wow, this is good. I can see why Superman loves this too. Yeah, I know. We'll get to the stuff that Superman really loves eventually. I do know his favorite food, the BBWK. I don't know where to get it. I'll probably just fake it or something. I don't know. But yeah, I know what it is in case, you're sitting there going, what? Pretzels, apple pie? That's not the food Superman's known for. I know. It's just the foods I'm doing right now. I'll do it soon enough. Right now I'm eating apple pie. All right. Let's go learn a little bit about the Constitution. What you see here, that's the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. I'll talk about it in a second. I want to tell you why this is here. I was watching a live show a couple nights ago. And this one guy who's not too bright, I don't think. I'm not even going to mention his channel. It's not worth it. He's small. My goal in life is always to punch up. If I'm going to mention someone, I'm mentioning someone bigger than me. Or I'm promoting you, or if I'm punching at you, it's going to be bigger than me. Because why start a fight with someone smaller than you? But I'm just going to talk to you. What he was talking, he kept talking. Every once in a while, he'd get interrupted. And he'd whine, hey, I have the First Amendment right to speak my piece. I'm like, no, you don't, dude. I said in the chat, I'm like, you do not have that right. The First Amendment does not cover people talking over you. And he popped back with, I need to get better legal advice. It's like, no, I don't. I know what this says. And this is a little artwork that the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund has put out. It's the CBLDF. They help comic book shops and comic book people that get in trouble. Not get in trouble, but get arrested, get fined and stuff for First Amendment issues. Like, there was one store. This is a true story. There's a store in, I forget it, East Coast, Southeast area, Carolinas and stuff. They had a regular comic store. It had an adult section, okay? These were adult comic books sold only to adults, and that's all they sold them to. So they sold a few to adults who came in to buy them on purpose to get them arrested. They sold adult comics to adults. The police came in and said, you're a comic book store and you sold adult material, that's illegal. Well, it's not. A comic book store does not mean it's for kids. It means it's a comic book store. It's not illegal. That would be arresting them for selling a book to somebody who can legally purchase that book becomes a First Amendment issue, because that's a freedom of speech issue. And the government cannot come in and take your freedom of speech away. And that's why I kept saying to him, I kept getting told I was wrong, which was ridiculous. I'm wrong about a lot of stuff. It's not ridiculous to say I'm wrong. It's ridiculous to say I'm wrong about this. He has no right. You have no right. I have no right to put this video up on YouTube. If YouTube decides to take it down, they can take it down for any reason or no reason. My First Amendment right would not be infringed. Because YouTube's not the government. If you write the newspaper a letter, they don't have to print it. This stuff's obvious. If I'm running if you make a comment, I'm not going to do it. Make whatever comments you want. But if I'm like, other people who turn off their comments or start deleting comments and doing that stuff, that's okay. Their First Amendment, people cried that that was an infringement on their First Amendment right. The First Amendment clearly says, exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech. The government shall not abridge the freedom of speech or of the press. The government shall not. Now, the government closed down that store. The government did. I think the government does suppress our rights to free speech with the FCC, but that's a whole nother issue. But if you're out doing, just talking, a lot of stuff is creating, like saying, yelling fire in a crowded theater is creating a danger. There's a lot of things you can't say because you put people in immediate danger. That makes sense. But if you just go outside and yell, Archie's a doo-doo head, they maybe could arrest me for disturbing the peace. They can't arrest me for what I said. So that's, and you certainly cannot take away the right of free speech from someone else. If I tell someone to shut up, that's okay. That's legal. So that was always cracked me out. The whole time I kept seeing this people who, I have a right to to express myself. No, you don't have that right. You don't have it at all. So some of these people don't get what this is all about. And you'll see that every once in a while. I have the right to talk my piece. But this guy also, he, this was weird. He was accused of sending someone flowers. And he was very upset that he got accused because his wife could find out that he was being accused of this and it would be upsetting to her. However, this guy has every gal's phone number, apparently, and texts and calls them all hours of the day and night. And he said, well, it's okay. I'm like, I even said, you're calling these chicks at 4 a.m? He goes, well, me and my wife are adults. She goes out to lunch with lawyers, and I talk to women I meet on YouTube. I'm like, and no one agreed that was normal. but I was like, wait a minute. She would be upset if she thinks you sent. She doesn't know you well enough to know you didn't send flowers, but she knows you well enough to trust you with anyone texting and calling, and you know her well enough to go out to lunch with lawyers. So it should be if you're a married couple. But she doesn't know you well enough to know that you didn't send flowers to someone. Yeah, that made no sense. No fucking sense to me. The guy was weird. Anyways, and again, he kept crying because people would talk over him, and he had a right to talk. It's like, okay. Anyways, that was a little bit about what the First Amendment does and does not cover in my America Anna episode of What Superheroes Eat.